Hello, everybody. Happy September 29th, 2020. My name is Christopher Saunders, and this is the Connecticut Sports Talent Show, where we talk all things talents in Connecticut. And today's show, I'm pleased to have back on for his second appearance, the AD for Ledyard, Jim Buonocore. I finally got it right. I didn't have to stutter and be like, buh, 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 like today, Junior. Great to have you back on, man. Seriously.
Good job with that, Chris. Second time around, much better.
But hey, last week, the ECC Alternative Football League had the inaugural season, kind of breaking off and being able to get various games going on. And I was not able to go to any games, but I did follow numerous reporters on their coverage, and they did a fantastic job, Sean McFarland and others. And I have to admit, I saw nothing but social distancing. I saw competitiveness. I saw some intriguing plays, even on the 7-on-7. I saw Coach Neal from Killingly make some very nice comments, Coach Bakulis, and your very own Coach Siricchio in the same way. I thought overall, for a first week, very successful.
Yeah, I would agree. And we had outstanding coverage, first from our local media down here, The Day, Mike DeMoro, Peter Hoppy, the video and the media coverage from that local station was just tremendous for the student athletes. They highlighted the NFA Fitch contest. We had Sean, as you mentioned, the Hartford Current was at Bacon and Killingly. And then, of course, we had the Westerly Sun cover the Stonington and Ledyard contest. So we had a, really, really good, following from the media, which I think helped, promote what we're trying to do in a very, very positive way. And that's providing an opportunity for our football, student athletes to have some resemblance of normalcy and an opportunity to compete in the sport that they're passionate about. So, I can't thank the media enough for, supporting, what we're trying to do. And then, of course, the coaches, the head coaches for our league member schools who led the way, with such positivity, outstanding leadership, great buy-in. That was the reason why we had such a successful start. It started, with just everybody doing their part in making the initial weekend of alternative football kickoff as well as it did.
Now, as with anything, you think about like when the iPhone first came out, there was, everybody thought it was the best thing, and it still is. But as people knew, there were some bugs, and you kind of had to work out the kinks. I mean, I had 4 iPhones before the 5th one finally didn't have a virus or a bug when it first came out. So the reason why I bring that up is, was there any kind of maybe hiccups, maybe something that you feel like, okay, we learned from week 1, because obviously I'm sure there were at least a couple of things where you felt like, okay, we can improve on this, or we can work on this. So now for the second week, it'll be better.
Yeah, I think, it's varying from school to school in terms of the format. Some of, as I mentioned the first time, the bigger schools are splitting up their junior varsity and varsity contests, which, I think it alleviates the number of student athletes on that campus at a time, and splits it into a 2-day period. But for the majority of us, we felt that the back-to-back format, the JV into the varsity setting, was productive. And I think really the biggest thing that I drew from the feedback from everybody was in installing some of the lineman activities into the Skills Corporation contest, where everybody had a part in that segment of the night. It wasn't just a split of, we're going to have the lineman challenges and then we're going to move into the skills competition. A lot of the sites integrated both, and had all of those events taking place under the Friday night light, so to speak. And I think that's really where I believe most are going to start heading towards, that particular format. I know we are this week here at Ledyard. Mike and Coach Strecker from Waterford spoke, and I was just looking over the script that they have for Friday night, and it's going to incorporate, a varsity period 4 periods of 15 minutes with the lineman challenges in between each particular period. And we'll precede that varsity contest with, a junior varsity contest. So, again, you just got to work it out for what's best for your student athletes and for your program in general. But the communication between the coaches has been outstanding. The camaraderie, you don't often see that in the sport of football, amongst the coaches. You do other sports. Football, it's pretty rare that you see this camaraderie, but the ability for these guys to work together and put something out there each week that's in the best interest of their student athletes is refreshing. And I couldn't be happier with how, our first week went.
And that's a great point that you make about how the coaches, in other sports, they're maybe a little bit more friendly. But in the game of football, it's, got to be tough. I can't be friends with you. Maybe after the game I can be, but before and during, I can't even talk to you. I don't even know who you are. But I think in some ways, to go back to what we talked about, how this league could be, a stepping stone for what could be football next season for 11 on 11, if and when we get to that point, or even in the spring, if all things go well, about the social distancing and everything with that. Maybe this, having a friendly relationship with a coach prior to a game and not talking to him previously is something that could change over time.
Absolutely. One of the reasons we put this thing together was, to continue to foster relationships between, student athletes and their coaches, still provide an organized, structured environment for the student athletes, with their coaches. At the same time, I think, kind of one of what we would call a side effect of it is the relationship between coaches. I think that's going to benefit itself within our league. There's no question about it. I think there's not often enough time, during the season for coaches to communicate with one another. And you're so focused on, what's in front of you now. And then in the off season, you're still trying to beat your opponent, in everything that you do, from the weight room to, the off season activities. Now you find yourself in a situation where there's no pressing need in front of you to prepare for a real 11 on 11 football game. It's a little bit more of a relaxed environment in terms of the preparation and lead up. You don't ever really see coaches speaking to each other the week of a game, but here our coaches are. They're speaking to each other the week of the game. They're putting together a script which works best for both teams. They're agreeing on things that will take place during the course of a game. There's mutual agreement, and I think that's important for, fostering those relationships and moving forward as a league. And I think it'll prove beneficial when we do, get back to real football. But I'll say this, last week, I saw schools that had cheerleaders out there. They had their dance teams. Obviously some schools are allowing, a small allotment of fans, home spectators at the sites. Coaches utilized, spotters up in the press box. They were on headphones. They competed. The lights went on. The ball was kicked off. It wasn't your normal, tackling and crunching and sound effects that you hear, but, kids were competing. And I think that is really what we need to pull from this. And we made the best out of a bad situation, and we're going to continue to do so for the next couple of weeks.
Who would have thought coaches coming together and agreeing and not fighting and being able to put aside their competitiveness for 1 second? Now, if that can happen, world peace should be easy, right?
and maybe a cure for COVID-19.
Hey, if somebody has the COVID-19 relief, I would gladly. They should get an award. Like, I don't even know if there's an award out there to give to that person.
We'll find one for sure.
Definitely. But Coach, I think being able to have this league in some ways, in my opinion, I think it, and I told you this again last week to go back to the interview when I had you on, I think it was a stepping stone. And when I had you on, this was before, the SEC, the CCC, and the FCIAC, at least to my knowledge, at least had something on paper where they had their own little alternative league. But it seems like now other leagues are jumping board. And I would think for you and the rest of the group in the ECC, you have to feel pleased to see other leagues following you, because if other leagues are following what one league is doing, that league is doing something right, and you guys did.
Yeah, I'd like to think we're doing something right, regardless of if others are following or not. To me, I think, I would base, our evaluation on the feedback from our league member coaches and from the student athletes. And I spoke to, the student athletes in our program here at Ledyard, when we got back into the building on Monday. And there was a lot of, just positive feedback in terms of, the opportunity that was presented to them. And, of course, from the parents, a lot of happy parents, and just and they weren't even able, my parents weren't even able to attend the game. They were still just pleased that, their son or daughter had an opportunity to go and play, against Stonington last week. And this week they're going to get a chance to see their children play. We're hosting, so we're going to allow some of our home fans in. And we're going to celebrate senior night as well. We're going to celebrate our seniors and honor them, as we traditionally would, during a normal 11v11 season.
And I didn't even know that you guys were doing that. So I think let's hit on that real quick. I think being able to, because you don't know, I mean, before we even started this interview, we were just talking about, the CIAC with spring football, potentially 11 on 11. I raised the question about school, and then you made a good point. School could be closed next week. It could be closed tomorrow. I almost feel like everything is kind of right now, because of COVID and not knowing what the future holds. I feel like we're almost in borrowed time. So if you guys have an opportunity to do senior night, why wait and say, oh, we'll have 2 weeks from now when we have a home game? No, let's do it now, because we don't know what's going to happen. Our school could close tomorrow. Let's celebrate these seniors the right way.
Yeah, and we're doing that across the board in all of our fall sports. We're trying to get, our senior night or senior day, completed as soon as possible. Obviously we're optimistic, and, we're looking forward to completing a full fall season for all of our fall sports and our fall student athletes. But, again, why wait? We made sure we took care of team picture day. We made sure we, got our senior days or senior nights scheduled. We want to make sure we can accomplish as much as we can accomplish in the time that we have now, because nothing is guaranteed. We hope to be playing on October, 31st, but we don't know if we're going to make it that far. When this whole thing started, my message to all of our coaches and student athletes was, it's day by day, week by week. And that's our only, approach that to me is feasible and reasonable, considering what we're dealing with, considering what we don't know we're dealing with, to be honest, with the virus. So, that's the approach we're taking. So we're going to recognize our seniors this Friday night before the game. And our kids are excited to go out and compete again. I think the coaches are doing things the right way. They're structuring their practices to improve, the skill development of the players in the sport of football, and at the same time prepare them for a little competition at the end of each week. And I think it's just a win-win in that regard, considering what we're dealing with.
Now, I know that you're not someone that I feel like looks for attention, says, oh, please praise me for what I did. But I really do believe, though, that, taking a step back and being able to view what's going on as far as just the ECC and having the alternative league and seeing how successful it was last week. And I think it will be successful this week, next week, and the following. And I even think all the way through, and who knows what could happen. But the question I have for you is, now that you saw it go through a week and seeing how much importance and how much it meant to the coaches and the players, can you kind of just sit back, if you're in your chair right now, you're just zoning out and you're just like, man, I really did something pretty cool and good. I'm happy. I'm happy about myself. I'm happy I did this.
I was certainly happy to see, the success of the first week. I think most people who know me understand, I'm very passionate, not just about sports and athletics in general, but football specifically. I was a head coach for 17 years. I grew up, in a football family. My father was a head coach for 30 years, at the high school level. So I played for my father, and it's a sport that has been a huge piece of me in terms of shaping me into who I am. And so I understand the importance that it plays and the role that it plays in the development of a young person, as well as all sports do. So I wanted to make sure that, those kids had an opportunity, because I saw firsthand 40 kids in my building that if we didn't give them something, they weren't going to have anything. And so, that again was the onus behind me trying to get something down on paper to provide that, would fall into a low to moderate risk setting, and would get approval at, all school levels. So yeah, very pleased to see this thing move forward, and yeah, I am excited to see it continue to grow through the next 3 to 4 weeks. And I'm also excited about, the culmination piece. I think that's going to be really a great day for football in the ECC when we get together at New London High School and have our combine. We're already taking registration for that, and I just secured a sponsor today, for T-shirts for the athletes, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun for the kids to get themselves on film in a combine setting as well. Because again, we're trying to promote these young men and women, and try to get them on to the next level if they choose to do so.
I kind of view that last, you can call it a game, combine, showcase. I kind of view that almost in some ways like a state playoff game, a state championship game, only because it's the final time, depending on how you view it, wearing the pads, being able to play, as your team, Killingly, Ledyard, etc. But being able to represent the school and your coaches and your parents, and being able to say, hey, I accomplished something great. So I feel like that is kind of like a culmination of that being the last time, but kind of putting a bow on a very successful alternative league season.
Yeah, I think that, again, it'll be the culmination piece of the fall, but I think there'll be a lot of hope and optimism at that point that, it's kind of the wrap up of our preseason, so to speak, as we prepare for an option to play, 11v11 in the second semester. So it'll probably have quite a few twists to it, because like you said, it's going to culminate, all of the activities in the fall. But at the same time, when it ends that day, there's still going to be hope, and a lot of, young people, as well as, all the coaches throughout the league, that there's still something out there, before the school year ends. And I think that's a great thing.
And you kind of segue to it, so let's talk about it. The CIAC came out with today their plan for potential football in the spring. Now, I saw some of the dates, and I found them intriguing. So far, conditioning would be February 22nd to the 26th. Then you have the first day of pads would be the 27th, and then scrimmages the 6th through the 12th and 13th. And then the first day of the season starts March 19th, ends April 17th. Now, if I count how many games, that would be, I think, less than 5. But I don't think the games matter as much compared to just, A, having 11 on 11 back, and 2, bringing some normalcy, I think, back to what a lot of people really want, which is to have football back again.
Yeah, it comes out to a 5-game regular season, 2 preseason scrimmages. And what you see is your typical lead-in that you would find each and every year as a student athlete prepares to play the sport of football. And I think that was critical in terms of the safety and well-being as the student athlete prepares to play, a high contact sport. So I think what was happening there was that there was not going to be any deviation or shortcut, so to speak, to get to a full 11v11 season. There was going to be the proper preparation that has been done, successfully for years under the state, medical society, in terms of a week of conditioning and 2 weeks of contact leading into your first week of gameplay. So, I think that was important and critical in the process of getting this second semester season approved. We weren't going to shortcut any health or safety aspects of, playing the sport.
You, myself, others, we can't predict what's going to happen between now and October, November, December, and et cetera, leading up to February. Now, everyone keeps talking about the second wave and what could happen, and when will schools, not if but when schools will shut down and do alternative learning, computer learning, I like to call it, for the foreseeable future. But I think the point that you made, and I do agree with it, is that there's a plan in place. There's at least something to go off of, because if we do get to a point where the cases are still down, or at least to a point where both the DPH, Lamont, the CIAC can feel comfortable enough to do 11 on 11, then it's okay. Well, we have this, that, and another. Now we can go along with it, rather than before it's, well, we had a plan, but then we had to go back on it, but then we really don't have a plan. It's just nice to have at least something.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, I'm not an epidemiologist. I just do what the doctors tell me to do, and I do what people who are, professionals in their respective, profession, what to do. I trust them, So when DPH says you can do or you can't do, I'm going to listen and follow, And when my doctor tells me I can and can't do something, I'm going to listen to the doctor. I think anybody who doesn't is foolish. So with that said, to have a plan in place is critical. And I think it was something great that came out today from the CIAC, and the fact that, there's a plan, and because we don't know what's going to happen. On the optimistic side, they're talking about having, quick testing, being accessible. They're talking about having a vaccine. We might be out of this sooner than we think. At the same time, it may just go downhill and it gets worse, and we hit a second wave, and we continue on, fighting, this good fight every single day. We don't know, but what we do know is if we're fortunate enough, there's something there, and I think that was the critical piece. There's a plan in place if we're fortunate enough, and I think that's what everybody was hoping and kind of asking for, and today they were provided with that, and so I think it's a good thing that there's something out there, and that gives us hope, moving forward.
I mean, I think even learning more about this virus and finding out about, you mentioned the testing, and, the quicker the testing and the results, the more comfortable, because, well, when this virus first started, it took 2 or 3 weeks, 10 days, whatever it was. Now, I think, what was it? I saw that the Big 12, why they felt comfortable going along with football being played at the time before the other, the Big 10 and the Pac-12 decided to come back, was because they partnered with a company that could find testing and produce testing that would get results in 15 minutes. And that's why the Pac-12 and the Big 10, as I mentioned, came back. And I think that's something where if those tests can become easily accessible for the high school, so that they could administer them to the athletes and to whomever, that could kind of maybe allow DPH or whomever to feel a little bit less constricted to, no, you're not playing 11 on 11. You can't do it. Because I feel like with the testing, if you have that, then it helps.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be helpful, and there's a lot of things that we just have to kind of hang in there and see how we progress from day to day. But as quickly as we all know it could go, south very fast on us. At the same time, things could improve, and so we just have to wait it out. And again, as I've mentioned, take it day by day. But the fact that there's a plan in place and there's an opportunity, to me, that's all you can ask for. I've said from the beginning, just exhaust all your options, and they did. It's going to be out there, so we'll hope for the best and hope that we get there.
Jim, it was great to be able to have you back on again, to be able to talk about the league, a little bit about what came out today with the CIAC. I wish you guys nothing but the best of luck in week 2 of the league. Again, I won't be able to make it, but I'll be watching from afar, and I'm sure it's going to be nothing but successful. And I'm really happy to see how much the league had last week as far as success, and that it continues this week, and also to the seniors of Ledyard for 7-on-7 football, and for the other sports as well, to the seniors. Great 4 years, or however many years that you played the sport that you play. But I wish them nothing but the best of luck in their journey as well.
Oh, thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure. Appreciate your continued support of what we're trying to do down here. And we got a great slate of contests again scheduled for Friday night. And we'll keep you posted on how things go and certainly keep you up to date throughout the month of October. So thank you.
No problem. Before I let you go real quick, is there anything in particular about the Ledyard football game for the seniors that you would like to share for anybody who's watching, maybe a parent from the Ledyard football team?
I just think that they're excited to get out on their home field. This will be their first contest on our new turf. For the football team, we've been traditionally a grass team, so I think it's going to be pretty interesting to watch. Ledyard football playing on synthetic turf at home. So that's going to be something unique this Friday night. But to get those guys back under the lights, they're excited for it, and I know the parents are anxious to come watch them compete as well. So it should be a lot of fun here Friday night.
That'll wrap things up here in the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. So until next time, stay safe. Remember, CT stands for Connecticut Talent, and I'm on a journey to find them all. Have a good one, everybody, and be well.